Hey everyone, it's a Miserable Movie Man back once again with another video. It has been a while. I know there's lots of things happening. I'm preparing for my big move back to London from Hong Kong. And so there's just too many things to sort out. Although I did manage to find time to sneak in watching the Odyssey. And that is what this video is about. I know it's a bit late. Probably everyone has given their views and their take on it. And people may not always agree with me either. But I watched it in the cinema with my wife. Unfortunately, I did not watch it on IMAX. She gets motion sickness and can't handle IMAX screens. So we watched it on a regular size screen. But you know what? I didn't know this. Someone told me the other day, a friend of ours said that there isn't any true IMAX cinemas in Hong Kong. They don't have the 70mm print that Chris Nolan filmed it on. So even on the IMAX cinemas in Hong Kong, apparently it's being projected digitally. So you don't see the traditional, true, intended IMAX format. If you know this or you didn't know this, well, there you go. Let me know if that is correct or not. I think this friend of ours knows what he's talking about. But anyway, we watched it in the cinema, and everyone has said that this is the best film ever, Nolan's best film ever, best film of all time. They had, a range of emotions. I enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it. I thought it was well directed, well acted. But that was kind of about it for me. It starts off pretty abruptly, and it follows the poem in some instances and then veers off completely in others. I think Nolan tried to boil it down to a very simple story of a man who is honorable and trying to get home to see his family. Now, he's been gone 20 years and things are happening, and there are suitors in his house, and his son wants to figure out where he is, and his wife is trying to figure out ways to delay the suitors from declaring he's dead and marrying him. All the while, Odysseus is sitting on an island under the spell of Calypso, eating lotus flowers, reminiscing about PTSD memories of the Trojan War and battling Cyclopses and, or is it Cyclopi? I can't even remember which one it is. Giant whirlpools and other things. Circe, the sorceress, turning his men into pigs. There's lots of things that happen. A lot of it is taken from the book. Some of it is condensed. They combine elements and they remove elements. And that's good. It's a good adventure. I think Nolan has oversimplified Odysseus to me. If you know a bit about the character, and I'm no expert, if you read the poem or adaptations, even if you look at film and TV work surrounding him, this is a very complicated man. He was heroic in some ways, very smart, bit of a trickster, a bit arrogant as well, and someone that has layers and layers. He cheats on his wife pretty regularly. And it's one of these things where there are different themes in the book that are explored, the theme of hospitality, the theme of war, the theme of coming home, the theme of fidelity. I didn't really get a lot of that in this film. Really, it was almost a race of, is he dead or not? Is he coming home or not? When he comes home, is he going to beat people up or not? That was about it. And that could be the script, it could be the pacing. When Odysseus leaves the Trojan War, he just kind of bounces around from place to place. He says, yeah, we'll take the scenic route back. We'll see you there, Agamemnon. And then, there's an island. Let's go and explore. Oh, there are people, run. Oh, there's a Cyclops. Let's go and explore. Oh, he's about to kill us. Run. Oh, there's Circe, turns into a witch. Oh, let's run. It just seems a bit buffoonish in the way that it was handled. Like, I get in the poem he does some of that elements, but, the smarts weren't quite there. Nolan reinforces it through heavy exposition, as he always does. Odysseus is the smartest man I've ever known. This man uses his brains, even though he's incredibly strong to draw his bow and shoot the arrows through the axes. But his brains. Let's just go into a cave with sheep and fine. And let's run. Let's hide here and let men get eaten while we try and figure out a way out. Let's run. Let's run on the beach and we see these folks. Let's run. Let's go to a strange house and weapons. Let's run. He does end up on the shores of the dead, supposedly. He speaks with folks from Hades. He goes back and has a horrible choice, but he does it in a way. I felt his number 2, played by Himesh Patel, seemed to have more sort of gravitas and had more leadership about him than Odysseus. There is a mutiny later on, and Odysseus is just trying to get home, and of course we know everyone dies. We know that from I guess knowledge of the poem and the works, but I liked Damon's acting. I thought his yearning for getting home and his memory loss was great. I didn't get the sense of this Odysseus is a great man. This is a noble man. This is a smart man. This is a arrogant man. This is a man that weighs decisions in his head and weighs on them heavily. A man who pines for his wife but then cheats on her regularly. I didn't get any of those layers from him. And so I think that was my biggest disappointment with the film. Oh, and I didn't even address the biggest controversy around this film. The woke choices of actors and actresses that Nolan picked to play these mythical, historical, legendary characters. There was a lot of fuss about Lupita Nyong'o and Ellen Page. Is Lupita Nyong'o Helen of Troy? Well, she played a dual role, actually. She played Agamemnon's wife as well. My view is this. I don't really care who you pick to play whoever. If it's a fictional character or a legendary character, everyone should have a go. Everyone can have a go. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, Shakespeare, Homer, all of the greats, have a go. Have a go. If you can pull it off, fair play to you. If you can create that character, I'm all for it. I think people should be afforded the choice to pick who they want for the role. I mean, most of these folks aren't even Greek, so immediately you're talking about something that's inaccurate to begin with. What I will say, though, if you're picking someone for the role, they have to deliver on the role. They have to be a good choice for the role. Race and colour and background has nothing to do with it. Acting chops does, acting ability does. I watched an interview a while back with James Earl Jones where I think he was on the Dick Cavett show and he was talking about a role for a Haitian king. And I think Tony Curtis said, look, that no one's done it, no one's had a crack at it, I'd like to take a crack at it. And Dick Cavett asks James Earl Jones his opinion. And he says, he can try whatever he wants, as can James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones has played Shakespeare characters who were not originally supposedly black. But James Earl Jones does say a very specific point, which is the point I'm trying to make. He said, if Tony Curtis can pull off a Haitian king with mannerisms and cultural references and portray that in his acting, then go for it. Hats off to him. Let him do it. Similarly, for James Earl Jones and the roles he plays, to me, it boils down to, can you convincingly portray that character? Can you get me on board that you are embodying that character? So I don't really care what race you are, what skin color you have, what your background is. Can you be that character? Now, I thought Lupita Nyong'o did a decent job as Helen, but she wasn't even in it enough to be worthy of any kind of screen time. There's a minor character in this film. And Ellen Page, again, playing the grown-up version of a boy that Odysseus takes with him and has a bit of a beef with him. Yeah, she did a good job. She emoted pretty well. But I think, again, if you are portraying and embodying the characteristics of the character, be who you want, pick who you want, cast who you want. That's just my view on all this woke controversy. I do not always agree with woke choices. I think, putting someone in for the sake of diversity or whatever it is, to me, it's an artistic medium. Let the artist pick. Let the director pick. Whoever the best person is, let them be that. Quotas and diversity, I think, in this day and age, is much less of an issue than it was in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, right? Himesh Patel, secondary character. I mean, he's had a lead in a couple of films. Look at that. Great. Never seen that 30 years ago. So, for me, it's about the best person for the role. Action sequences are good. Maybe a little bit too much sometimes, especially the land of those giants. They just run in. All of a sudden, the giants are behind them. All of a sudden, the giants are further away from them. They get on the boat. Yeah, I get there's a bit of artistic license here that really wants to make the tension so great and then have them escape, although some of the boats get sacked, right? And then, you have the whirlpool and other elements, and the Cyclops, who, I think facially they tried to make him have his, being disfigured. That was why his eye was up there. I would rather they just leaned more heavily into the supernatural and the element of the gods in this film. I mean, Zeus, Poseidon, Athena, they're all there. He sees Athena a lot. Although we find out later on that image is of a woman that was slain. So yeah, the element of the gods, which is in the poem and in all the stories a lot, was downplayed here, and fair enough. Like, if you do it through lightning, you do it through seas, I get it. Although having a PTSD vision of Athena kind of negates that to some degree. But, but those theatrical, fantastical elements, Nolan, I think, was a bit too grounded. He tries to make all the people in the lifestyle grounded, and then he throws in giant whirlpools and witches and magic. Doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite reconcile in that world. So, again, that was a nitpick of mine. I thought it was a good film. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. Definitely, some good action. Definitely good acting. Did I find Telemachus great? It was okay. I thought Tom Holland did a decent job. I thought Anne Hathaway was very good. I thought she was probably the strongest of the cast. Robert Pattinson was okay. John Leguizamo was okay, though he mumbled enough that I couldn't really understand him that well in the cinema. Maybe it was my age or the hearing or the sound. I don't know what was going on. It was an okay kind of role. Nolan likes to throw in symmetry. He likes to throw in circles. He borrows a page from George Lucas's book in that things come around. There's sort of images that have notes of themselves, reflections of themselves. So, what Penelope says to Odysseus at the start is what happens at the end. Odysseus enjoying his bow at the start is what happens at the end. A lot of the elements that he sort of references is what happens at the end. And that's nice, but it's a bit too simplistic, a bit too much of a nice little bow wrapped up and tied onto it. Maybe it's more of a film for the masses. Everyone is raving continuously about this film. Critics are saying it's the best ever, Nolan's best ever. Huge amount of Oscar buzz about it. I would give it its props for directing. I'd definitely give it props for acting. Adaptation of the storyline, script, characterization, those are the bits that fell a little bit flat for me. But a good cinema film. Have to watch on the big screen. This is good entertainment. Nolan, at least, again, to me, I'll give him his credit where credit is due. He's trying something different. He's bringing back the sword and sandal epic of the old times of the Ray Harryhausen films and the great, Jason and the Argonauts type of content that we used to get. We haven't had too much of it, although Gladiator 2 came out, but Nolan is swinging for the fences, and I laud him for that. I think he takes risks, and he does what he wants, and he does what he was influenced by. That's all brilliant. To me, again, execution, good in many areas, but it boils down to a lot of sort of story choices were too simple, and everything has to be neat and tidy. I don't think a poem and an epic of this length and complexity deserves that, very childish, I would say, infantile level treatment. I think he could have gone deeper and harder in a lot of areas. But again, that's his choice as an artist. Many people love it. I like it. Let me know what you think of in the comments below. That was my review. As usual, please like, share, and subscribe to help support the channel. And the next one, I hope, will be Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'll see if I can squeeze some time to fit that in before the big move. Lots of stuff to get rid of, lots of movies to come in. But Spider-Man Brand New Day is the biggest box office draw since Endgame. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. I think people are already loving it, but I'll let you know next time.